let's make a start then on the My Holiday Story album cover. Exactly the same as we did for our Explorer's Go-To wallet. Now, just to let you know, I've cut this out of a 12 by 12 sheet, and I cut it at 9 inches, and the little bit left over I'm just going to tag on the end there. I have given you a little bit extra room because this is going to be a little bit tight to fit it all on, but I have given you extra room on your instructions in terms of the length of the paper that you need. But I'm going to be a little bit frugal and just get this stuck on. So let's just get some red liner tape, and I'm going to take that right to the edge. Here we go. And give my little burnish. There we are. And just get my paper tool, just going to take that off, and I'm just going to add a little bit of wiggle glue, as I like to call it, like so. And now we're just going to pop this on, and I'm just going to line it up and make sure that I'm covering that glue edge like so. So I've squeezed that right on the edge of where that glue is. Okay, all right, now my craft paper has got a slightly darker side and a lighter side, so it's the lighter side that I'm going to have in on the center. So here are my pieces that I'm going to add on here, and it will just fit, okay? But like I said, I've given you a little bit more allowance for yours, okay? But I'm going to be a little bit frugal and do that. So what I'm going to do is stick these down. Let's just get my lovely long ruler. So I've allowed you, I think I've allowed you on the pattern 1 inch all the way round, so it helps with your guide. So I'm just going to put that on there, and I've just got that at 1 inch depth to come in. So let's just add some glue on here. Okay, and just move that over. So I'm probably coming in maybe about 5/8 of an inch. No, about 5/8 of an inch. I'm coming in on that edge for me. Okay, all right. And now I'm just going to stick the next one down, which is our spine, and I'm going to leave about just over 1/8 of an inch gap between the spine and the front cover. So I'm just going to line that on. Whoops, there we go. Making sure. The important thing is that you're making sure that your line across the bottom here is straight. Okay, and now again I'm just going to come and do this next bit. I'm just going to add some glue on here. So for this particular album, the construction board I'm using is thicker than the one that I used in the Explorer's Go-To wallet. Okay, and this is 1500 GSM. Okay, so I just wanted it a little bit sturdier, because right. So now we've got them all stuck on nice and firmly, I'm just going to go around, and I'm just going to, because this craft card is a little bit on the tough side. Now obviously if you're using a different colour, or you're using black for yours, black cardstock, then like I showed you on the Explorer's Go-To wallet one, you can colour in the black corner, you know, your black in here on the corners to cover up your construction boards, so you don't sort of see it when you when we cut and miter the corners and that. Okay, so all right, I'm just giving that a little bit of a, I'm just going to go around with my bone folder just to sort of help ease those paper fibres a little bit. Here we are. Okay, so hopefully we don't get too much cracking or anything on that on the other side. Right, so as before, our lovely red liner tape, and I've got the nice wide one, so I'm just going to tuck this in. This is 25 millimeters, M&Ms. Okay, I'm just going to snap that off like so. And yeah, if you're using construction tape, then obviously you can go around and do that all in before. And as I said before, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, then pop over to our YouTube channel and look up the Master It Mondays. I think it's episode 1 or part 1, where I show you how to put together 2 album covers using different methods. Okay, so that's going in like so, and because that tape is a little bit too wide for that, I'm just going to use a strip of this one here as soon as I can find the end. Right, so I'm just going to come in, and I can see I can get 2 done there. Okay, so it's just exactly the same as we did before. All right, I'm gonna just turn this round, and we're gonna do the same. Oh, I should have put that on the outside. Oh well, I'll do the outside one. Doesn't matter if it overlaps a little bit. There we go. Okay, and we'll just get our burnish tool, and we're just going to give that a little bit of a run. All right, and now we just need to miter our corners. So again, like I said before on a previous video, look at the thickness of your board, and you need to come out that thickness on your corner and then a little bit extra just to come over the edge. Okay, so if in doubt, cut it a little bit bigger, okay, because you can always trim off more, you can't add it back. So just come off there, and we're going to come off that one, and 2, and here we go. Just going to do this one. Oops, that's it. 3, and then our final corner. Okay, let's just pop that to one side. Now I always do the long sides first, so then we've got that tape on, and I'll cut the corner. I can really start to bend that over and ease it over gently. Okay, like so. I've got a good grip on that, and then we're just going to get the bone folder and take off the tape. Oh, it's sticking to it always sticks to my hand. Okay, now as I bring it over, I'm just giving it a little tug, okay, just so to make sure that that craft card is sitting right up against the edge of the album cover. Okay, and now I can go along, give that a good press down, and I'm just going to come in and stretch those fibres in between the spine and the covers, because we need to make sure that that folds up nicely. Okay, and then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Oh, Come on, tape. Right, that's it. Okay, and again, we're just going to come up, give that a nice little, there we go. I'm just going to tuck that down on the centre, work our way out. Okay, I'm just going to come in on the other side. Right, and again, I'm just going to give that a good crease in where that gap is. I'm just going to fold that, and we're going to fold that like so. Okay, so that is almost done, and now we've just got the shorter ends to do. I'm just going to take that tape off. Oops. There we go. Now, what I normally do is where these bits come up here, I normally just give that a little dent in. Okay. And now I can fold that over. Give that a little push down. Right, okay. And then we're just going to fold that over, give that a good push down, and on the other side. Okay, and then I'm going to come and do the same on the other side. Let's just get that tape off. So I've got it slightly overlapping, it's sticking. Right, that's one bit done. Come in just on there. There we go. All right. And again, I'm just going to nib in those little end bits there, like so. I'm just going to fold that up, and I'm going to stick that down like so. And there we are. Okay, and that is our album cover done. Right, now we're ready to sort out our hinge. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. So here's my hinge. So I've gone ahead and I've scored it already, and I've just folded the score lines so I create these little mountains and valleys. Okay, so it should sort of, once we've stuck it together, it should sit like so. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to work out where we need to put the tape. So you've got the first 1.5 inches coming in, then you've got your first 1/2 inch scored. So I'm going to just put a T in that one, an O in the next one, and a G in that one. T, O, G, and then we go T, O, G, and then we should end up with a T and an O. All right, so you can see here in that score line, there's the T, there's the O, there's the G, and I've followed that all the way along. And what they stand for is T for the tape, O for nothing, and G for the gap. All right, so we're going to add our red liner tape. Just going to pop that down on there. Oops, there we go. Like so. Oops, move that pencil out of the way. I'm just putting the tape on all the T's. And one more to go. So this is going to give us 4 hinges for our album. Okay, just go and give those a good rub. And now I'm going to take off the first one, and I'm going to fold that over so the T then comes over onto the O. like so, and then you've got the gap, and then we fold the T over onto the O, and then that's your next one. So we're left with the G, and then we go the T over onto the O, and then we're left with the G, and then the final one, come on, up you come, right, okay, is going to go over like so. So now we should end up with our 1, 2, 3, 4 hinges, and you've got your little G's showing on the other side. So before I do anything, I'll just give these a good crease. I'll have them going one way, and then I'm going to flip them over and go the other way, because obviously when you're flipping through your album, you need the hinges to be able to have that paper memory that they can go that both ways. Okay, and that is our full hinge done. So now what we need to do is put our tape on the back to get it stuck into the cover. So again, I'm going to use my wide tape. Now I always do the middle section first and work my way out. So let's just tuck that in. So that's just going to go across that center hinge gap there, and like so. I'm going to do the next one. Whoops. It's a little bit tricky because this card is a little bit stiffer. So now if you don't have any red liner tape this wide, obviously you just put your strips in. You can do this with like double-sided tape and or double-sided sheet. You could cut out a whole piece and put that on the back, but I use the red liner tape because it's part of the construction. It's what's going to hold the weight of everything, and I just want to make sure that it's going to stick fast. Right, okay, so we've done those bits, and now I just need to put some strips on the outside, but that is just a little too wide for that, so we'll go with the thinner one. I will be adding glue on here as well, so I'll get that in. Let's squeeze another little one in there. So I'm covering the whole back of this with the red liner tape. Okay. Right to that edge there. And like so. Okay, I'll just give that a nice rub, and there we are. So we've got our hinges all done. So this is now going to come and sit in the center of our spine. I can see I've got a little bit of an overlap of tape there. I'm just going to trim that off because I don't want anything else sticking to it. Right, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off taking off the center strip and lining up our hinges. So you just need to make sure, because we've got 4 hinges, so I'm going to go with the 2 middle ones to center those. Now you can mark them on your cover already. I'm personally just going to go with it by eye, but you also need to make sure that the distance is the same from the top and the bottom as well when you're putting that in. Okay, so we're just going to get the tape off that first strip, and I'm just going to add some glue, and this is why I do it in stages with the strips of tape, because then I can take a little bit off at a time. Okay, so I'm going to center this. Right, so I think I'm about, I need to come over a little bit more on that one, like so. I haven't quite dropped it down yet. Just center that. I think I've got about the same sort of gap, top and bottom by the looks of it. Right, okay, so now I can go in and push that down. Okay, I'm just pushing that first bit of tape in, and now we can go in and peel off either side. And again, I do this in stages, so I'm just going to take off this first bit like so, and as I drop that down, that's going to start coming over where the spine meets the cover. So I'm just going to go in and give that paper a bit of a stretch. Okay, all right, now if I'd stuck it down completely, I might have ended up with butterfly wings, as I call it. So just doing it a little bit at a time just helps prevent that. So now I've put in my indentation, that folds up nicely. I can now take off the other bits of tape and stick that down, and then the cover will lie flat. Okay, whoops. Right, okay. And as I put that down, I'm just giving that a good run down and gradually easing that over, keeping that back cover nice and flat. All right, and now we'll come round and do the other side. Okay, here we are, and we're just going to come up and do the other side. And again, I'm just going to drop that down a little bit. I'm going to come in with my foam folder. There we go. We're just going to give that a bit of a, just make sure that that's going to work okay. And now I can release the other two. This one. And, oh, come on. It's always one last tricky little bit. Come on, off you come. Oh, goodness me, let's try the other end. Oh, phew, there we go. Right, and now I can just run that in and gradually work that down, making sure that's nice and flat. And again, so now we've got a nice flat album cover. Now the overlap bit is what I'm going to keep on the back cover. Okay, now just a little tip, depending on your oh, I've split that a little bit, never mind, I'll put a little bit of glue in there. It's because it's craft cards, so it's not always as forgiving as some others. Okay, but yes, if you were what was I going to say? It's completely gone out of my head now. Oh yes, when you're cutting your paper to cover it, you could, if you wanted to, align cut two separate pieces so that your fold goes over where the spine is, if you didn't want it on the back cover. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Right, okay, and then what we need to do now is sort out all our base pages. So I've gone ahead and prepped the base pages, and you're going to need 8 of these because you've got one coming in either side. Okay, so basically one will stick in on one side and the other one will stick in on the other side. Okay, and then you're going to do that for the other 3, so that gives you your 8 pages, which then gives you 16 sides to decorate or to use for your journaling. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's what you're going to be doing. Okay, so I think what we need to do now is I'm going to go around and distress ink all my base pages with my brushed corduroy distress ink, and I'm going to do the whole of the album, and I'm going to do all the pages, and then we're good to go with our front and back covers. Right, so let's move on to our front and back covers. Now, I've put on the pattern to make the front cover a slotting cut here on our patterned paper, so you can add a notepad in and then you can take it out and change it. So if you want to reuse your journal at any time, you can do that. However, if you don't want to add that on, then you could add a gusset pocket, or you can take one of the ideas from the Explore Go To album where because they're all the same size, you can switch and swap between the albums what you want to add in. But I'm going to go with a slot on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to take these bits off. And now my thought process is that you could use the notepad to do your journaling on and then tuck it into the days if you wanted, or I have given you on your download the Word document to do your print off your own journal little sheets. Okay, so depending on what you want to do, here I've got like today's highlight, what we did today, how I felt, I'm grateful for, etc. And you can go in and you can change these around, and you can change your colour to match in with your papers and everything else as well. So I've given you enough there for the whole full 14 days. Okay, so again, you could use that, and then you might want to put a gusset pocket on the front here, something like that, and then you can tuck other bits and pieces in. The choice is yours. So let's just make a start with our sheet. Now, just to give you a heads up, the pad here is just over the 4 inches by 6 inches. Okay, so that will fit just nicely. So I'm just going to bring in my die cutting machine, and I'm using the dies from Cool Cuts Craft. This is their pocket slot ones, and I'm just going to see which one is going to suit better. So they do 2 sets on these. You get 1 set and a 2 set, and depending on the length of the width of your album rather, will determine which one you're going to do. Now if I pop that on there, that might just make that one. Let's just come down a size. Now if you don't have these dies, you can use you can just cut out a little slot if you so wish. I'm just trying to see. Now that is too short, so we'll go with the longer one, but we'll back it up behind just to make sure that is kept nice and taut on there. Right, okay, so we're just going to put that on. So I'm just having a look at where the album, or the cover rather, inside cover and the pad meet. So I'm just going to tuck that in there just a fraction. So I'm coming down just a fraction. Just pinch a bit of this purple tape off here. There we go. All right, and I'm just going to try and line this up as best I can and try and get it centered as best I can on there. Let's have a little look. I think we are fairly, whoops, that moved. Right, where are we? Okay, I think we are good to go. Just going to add that tape on there. It's not too bad. Straighten it up a little bit. There we go. And then I'm just going to pop this through our die cutting machine. Now these dies are just brilliant to use. I use them quite a lot in my albums, the straight set and the curved set. So let's just tuck that up out the way. Let's have a little look, see, and they just cut through. I think that actually needs a little bit more. I think it's not the dies, I think it's my plates are getting a little bit worn. Let's just go. Okay, let's just see if that's cut through. Almost. Right, I'm just going to add a little bit of card on there just for a little bit of added pressure. Okay. Oops, straighten these up a bit, Deb. There we go. Right, that should have done it. Yes. Yeah, it's gone through. Lovely. Okay. Like I said, I think it's more my plates rather than the dies that are a little bit squiffy. Let's just tuck those up out the way. Okay, so now I'm going to take this off. Like so. And don't throw away the internal bit, because we're going to use that to cover up the gap in the background. I've just realised I've left half my tools on the other desk. Okay, here we go. Right, so I'm just going to poke that out. Now I've already gone round and done my inking on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slot the matte little notepad, there we go, into here, and just see how that sits and falls on there. That's good. I'll just centre that on there for the minute. And now I can turn it over, and now I can see where I need to add my glue. So I'm just going to add my glue all the way around, like so. Okay, that's it. And now I can take out the notepad and I can add this to the front cover. Right, here we go. And again, I'm allowing about 1/8 of an inch all the way round, like so. Let me just straighten that up a little bit. Oh, I think we've got a little buzzy fly in here. It's the joys of working in the summer with the doors open. I had to take my cardigan off, it was just getting too hot. Right, okay, so that's gone in. And now I can add this strip back in, which will cover up that background. Or if you want to, you can leave the background showing. That's completely up to you. I'm just going to get my little mat. I'm going to add our little bit of glue, just tiny little bit all the way along. And I'm just going to lie this in and over the top. So that just going back in from whence it came. Just stick that down, and I'm just going to get a little bit of scrap card. I'm just going to get my nail in there and lift that up just to hold that up while that back bit dries. Okay, so that is our front cover done. Now for the back cover, I'm going to do a gusset pocket, so exactly the same as we did on the Explorer. Okay, and I'll go to Explorer album. Just wanna, where did I put my lovely tape? There we are. Oh, almost out. Got it, there we go. Right, okay. And I've scored 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch either side on the short sides, and then the same again, 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch on the bottom. So just going to give those a little fold just to help, because this is craft card I'm using. It is quite thicker than the usual cardstock, so I'll just help with that movability. So we're going to create the gusset pocket, and it's just going to sit on there. And I'm just going to add my red liner tape. Oops. Okay, where are we? Let's just open this up. You can probably hear all the birds chirping in the background. To open the door to let the fly out because he was annoying me. And now we got the birds chirping, which is lovely. A bit of Mother Nature in the background. Okay. Right, so we just put the red liner tape on the 1/2 inch, and now I'm going to cut out this first little rectangle, the square, and this second rectangle here. So you're left with just that tiny square in the middle. So we're just going to cut these out. There we go. All right, and this is going to create a little flap, so we're just going to cut down so that now creates our flap, and we're going to miter these corners so that when it all folds in, it's all going to sit nicely. So it should end up looking like that. And then we're going to just repeat on the other side. Like so. There we go. And we're just going to cut across like that. And then the little flap, I need to just cut that bit. There we go, create the flap. That's going to tuck in, and that's going to create our nice corner, which is what we had before on the front of the other album. Okay, that's not too bad. Let me just take a little bit more off of that. Right, let's just get rid of all of this, and now we're just going to get this stuck down. Oh, there goes the door. Right, okay. So I have tried before to glue these bits in, but because this cardstock is really, really stiff, I'm just going to tuck those in with a bit of glue once we've stuck it down. So let's just add, we're going to add it to the bottom. So I'm just going to take off our red liner tape. There we go. And we're going to stick this on here. Now bearing in mind that it's a gusset, so you just need to make sure again that you get it straight and it's coming in about 1/8 inch from the bottom and coming in on that side. So I can now push that down, and I'm just going to add a bit of black tape because the pattern paper I haven't got enough to come down completely and cover that. So we're just going to tuck that in like so. Is that going to hide that? Yeah. So I'm just going to tuck in our little corners, going to add a little bit of glue to those. And we're just going to remove our tape. There we are. Oops, it's sticking to me. And here we go. And now I'm just going to lift that up, tuck in those tabs to come in. So they're nicely done. I'm just going to do one side at a time. And like I've said before, is just make sure that that side is as vertical as you can, or square as you can, to the back page. And then we're just going to tuck in that second bit there. That's it. So you're creating that nice box finish on there like so. And now I've got my cardstock, which is just going to, which way did I have it? No, I did have it going in that way. So that will just come in, and that will help cover up the little lugs on the inside. And then I've just got my bit to go on the front pocket. So I'll just get this done, and we'll get these glued in. And then we can make a start on our pages. Oh, excuse me. Right, I'm just going to tuck that in. I'm going to bring that up so that covers up the edge of the hinge. Let's move that over just a little bit. That's it. And now put the pocket on. So I've cut the card at the back the same width as the pocket so that it flows through. And I normally put the pocket on first, but I've obviously gone the opposite way today, but that doesn't matter. That's absolutely fine. So let's just pop that on. So it's not really directional, but I'm going to turn it round that way. There we go. And that is our inside pocket at the back done, and our slotting for our notepad. Oops, if I can just take that off. That's got stuck to it, that last bit. There we go. Right, I'm just going to tuck that in. So that should sit in. So in you go, and move it over. It's a little tight, but it will go in. That's it. That's it. Give it a little wiggle. It will. It will go in. I promise you. Right. I did just go in and pushed my ruler down on the inside, and now I've managed to get that in. Okay, so let's just pop that to one side. We're not going to worry about the outside covers yet until we finish decorating our album and doing all the pages and stuff. Okay, so let's make a start with side one then. Now I've gone through and I've cut out loads of the bits and pieces that I've given you for your decorative bits and your information bits. Okay, and I decided that I thought it would be easier for you to choose what you want to put on each page. Now I'm giving you a guide within the instructions as to what I'm putting on each page, but you can swap it around, okay, and do whatever you wish. So for the first side, now what I've done is I've gone through and I've numbered these all: side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4, etc, etc. I've gone all the way through and done that. Okay, and let me just take that off here. So side 1, I've got here, I've written it as having the trick details. So what I've already done is put a flap on the outside Okay, and then we've got a nice vertical pocket. And in here, with all your bits and pieces, you've got little cards that you can tuck in. Now, I've printed these just off on paper, but you can print it off on card, so that they will tuck into that pocket. So we've got accommodation and destination just tucking in there. But if you wanted, you could put your patterned paper on this bit, and you could do some photo slots to go in and hold those in place, so you can take them out and change them every time that you travel, so you can reuse your journal as often as you wish. Okay, so this is the accommodation one, and this is the destination. So on side 2, I've got here a packing checklist, and on the packing checklist again, I've given you all the sheets that you can go in, and you can chop and change these around. You can go in and alter all of these, and again with the back bit, like your colour fill and stuff like that, you can go in and change all of those and make it more personal to you. So I've tried to be sort of fairly generic with these, and these are going to sit on a pocket that's going to go in here like so, and then these will slide in, and that will hold that in place. So that's what I thought I'd do for the first side 1 and side 2. So with any pocket, it's exactly the same. So while we're at it, we'll stick this pocket on. We will come back and do the vertical pocket and that, but you're going to be doing exactly the same as you did on the Explorer's Go-To wallet. Okay, so I'm just adding my red liner tape like so, and I'm going to turn that round. I'm just going to add a bit of tape on there, so I'm just going to pop this one in and on here. Okay, and again with the pockets, we're just going to cut across to where the score lines meet and give it a little wonky bit, and the same coming back on the other side. So you'll see on the pattern that I've given you the measurements for the horizontal pocket, which will fit on any of the pages. Okay, so as you can see, it sits nicely on the base page, but if I turn it over, you could, if you wanted to, it would be a snug fit. You could sit it on the flap, okay, on the inside or the outside, but I would just say be wary of sticking it on the inside, because of that coming over, it's going to bulk it up a bit on this edge here. So if you're going to stick a pocket, I would put it on the outside of the flap. Okay, but here we are on our side 2, which I've written on their packing checklist. I'm just going to stick this one down. Now, have I gone round and inked it? No, I haven't. So I'm just going to, now that I've cut it, I can go and ink that all the way round like so, just so it blends in with the pages that I've done. I'm just going to take our tape off, add a little bit of glue like so, and now we're just going to pop that on there. Again, come in about 1/8 of an inch off from the bottom and either side. And because I don't know how I'm going to decorate this yet, I'm just going to pop some black tape on there, and now we can peel off our sides of our pockets like so. There we go. And now I've got that stuck on there, and now my packing checklist will tuck. It will tuck just in there. I might need to trim a little bit more off. So I've done these on A4 sheets, so you can trim it trim it back as much as you like. Some will go in and some won't. Let's just, there we go, get it over that bit. Oh goodness me, I think I need to trim just a smidgen more off of these. but you get the idea. Okay, I think it's a couple of these back ones actually that need, so that one will go in. There we are, that one will sit in. Right, we'll put that one in for now. There we go, documents and money. And then we've got electric gadgets. There we go. I'm going to tuck these all in. I think doing these separately is probably helping actually. Right, I think those are the two that are a little bit wide. Right, okay, there we are. All right, so you can go in and do your checklist. I'm just going to tuck that like that for a minute because I know I need to trim those two down a bit. Okay, and like I said, we'll come and do this one in a moment, or one the same. Lovely. Right, so I did go in and just trim down those other ones, and now they all tuck in perfectly. What I will say is that you do have like a little title page, I suppose, and you can sort of cut that down and stick that on your patterned paper if you so wish as well. So you've got another little option going on there. So let's have a look to see how I did side one, which has got my trip details in, and again I've got my little strip there, so I might sort of add that on the front, or I might even put it down here on this pocket along here. Okay, so let's just pop that to one side. So that was side 1 and 2. So that was the trip details and the packing list. Okay, so side 3, I've gone with the budget, and side 4 is going to be your day 1 and day 2. So for side 3, I've got a few bits of paper here. I've got the pre-trip budget planner. Okay, I've got your daily spending tracker, and I've got your budget summary and final tally. Now, because I've got a couple of bits, yes, I could cut out a bit of patterned paper, put a couple of photo slots in it and tuck those in if I want. But because I've got quite a few bits and pieces, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the vertical pocket, which is what I did on side 1. So let's make a start. So here we are. This is my vertical pocket, and this is my flap. I've already gone in and added the red liner tape, and I've put the red liner tape around the pocket. So it's just exactly the same way that we would do any of our pockets. Just going to cut to that center point and give it a little wiggle, and we're going to do the same and give it a little wiggle. And I will put the pocket on first this time because I want to line up the flap with that. So I'm going to turn that round. Let's just peel off our tape. So you've got all the measurements for doing these, and as I was saying, you can mix and match these across the pages, okay, depending on what you want to add in to your journal. Okay, and also obviously that's going to be impacted as well by how many days you go. Right, so I'm just going to line this on. So I've added my glue for a little bit wiggle space, wiggle room. Right, I'm just coming in about, again, just about 1/8 of an inch. Just needs to come up just that fraction more. All right, let's have a little look, see how we're doing. That's yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, and now I'm going to run my tape along here. Like so. I'm just going to tuck that on there. And again, when I come to decorate it, I can, if I haven't got enough paper, it's not going to make too much difference to the pocket inside itself. Right, okay, so now we're just going to peel off these and peel off these, and I've already gone round and done my distress inking on here, so that's just going to tuck in like so. Okay. And then the flap is going to come over and line up going over that section there, and that will just there'll probably be just a smidgen of the pocket at the back showing, not too much, or you can move it right up so it covers it completely. So again, we're just going to take off our red liner tape, and I'm going to add the glue, and we'll get this lined up. And this is how you would do your side one, or any of the other pockets that have got vertical pocket with the flap on it. Okay, and now I'm just going to come in, just bring that down just a fraction, like so. I'll just check that. So I've taken that flap edge right to where the pocket edge is. Make sure that's going to sit as straight as I can. Right, there we go. Right, and that is that down. Okay, now I have said that obviously you can put a magnet on here, so I'll just show you again how to do the magnet. 1, 2, so we add all our magnets on before we do our decorated paper, and I'm just going to put one magnet on in the center. Here we are. So I'm just going to tack that on there. That glue is. I'm just going to check to make sure that's going to clear. Yeah, that's going to clear that. Just going to add a little bit of tape to hold that in place. There we go. All right, we're just going to pop that on there, and then I'm going to do a little imprint with the glue. Bringing over, pushing down, hold that in place. Now I know where that's going. Stick that on. And then just going to add a little bit of tape to that to hold that in place while that dries. Right, there we go. So that is our side 3 done. And as I said, this is my budget. So I've got my daily spending tracker and everything else. And again, I've got my holiday budget sheet that if I want to put that on the outside, I can do. Okay, so we're just going to tuck those in there so we know where they are. Okay, and then obviously you can, decorate it. If you wanted, I suppose you could put maybe a little plain sheet of paper on there. A bit like we did the front pocket, we might have done like a little slot, so you can tuck in a couple of like a smaller notepad or something like that for your workings out. Okay, but that is that side done. That is side 3. So now I'm going to turn it over, and we've got side 4, which is day 1 and day 2 of our album, of our journal or our holiday. Now, if you're, like I was saying, if you are doing 14 days, then you would bunch 2 days together, 1 and 2. If you're doing 7 days, then you would do just day 1 on this one. Okay, and you follow it all the way through. If you're doing somewhere in between, then I would work it out. Maybe do day 1. Perhaps if you're having a rest day somewhere, you're just around the pool, you're not going to be visiting. Perhaps you could have like 2 days on one. It's up to you. You've got that choice to change things around. So for this one, we're just going to repeat exactly the same as we did that, but with the added pockets for our receipts, because you may or may not get stopped by customs to show your receipts. So what a best way to place these is in your journal, so you can prove exactly where you got them from. So we're just going to do another vertical pocket. Okay, just going to tuck that one on there. And again, I'm just going to cut across to the score lines, give it a little wonky bit, and we're going to come in and a little wonky bit. Okay, so that is our our vertical pocket, which is where we've got the hinge now on this side. I'm going to stick the pocket by the hinge because I want the flap to be able to open outwards. Okay, so let's stick this down. So exactly the same as we did on the other side. The only difference is going to be that we're going to add a couple of additional smaller pockets for your receipts, like so. Okay, I'm just going to, again, coming in about 1/8 of an inch, roughly from that hinge and the top and the bottom. I'm going to add a bit of tape, like so. There we go. And now we can take the sides off. Right, 1 and 2. Oh, goodness me, come on, that's it. Right, so that's that bit done. And then again, we're going to do our pocket, our flap rather. So I'm going to peel that off. Add our glue. There we go. Right, okay, so I'm going to line that up with the edge of that pocket. That's it. I'm going to tuck that in like so. There we go. So that's exactly the same as we've got on the other side, and I'll pop a magnet on. So I'm going to put the magnet on now because I need to add my pockets, so it'll just be easier to put the magnet on now. So center point like so, just the same as we did on the other side. Oh, turn that a little bit. Okay, and let's grab another magnet. That's it. Right, bring that over, hold that down. Okay, so we're just getting this on. Right, let's just see that closes. It does. I think I've moved that magnet slightly when I stuck that down. Let's just do this. So we put that on there, bring it over, and now I can stick it down. That's more like it. Right, okay, so now we've got, as I was saying, we've got our journal pages, which will go into here. So you can either leave it as one full sheet and fold it up, or you can cut it out and tuck it in. They are a little bit wide for you to put on the inside covers, but they will fit in. So I'll sort of fold those up and tuck them in our little pocket there. But for the receipts, okay, so you've got two ways. So these are the smaller, what I've called them the receipt pockets. So we've got just a plain edge one, or we've got one with a notch cut out. All right, and like I said, I'm going to pop these on the outside, so 1 and 2, because I've already got a pocket on the inside. So these are going to tuck in, and these are going to house our receipts. Okay, and then I can bring that down a little bit. Now if you think that these are a bit too deep, then you can just sort of trim off the top bit. Okay, but if you do that, just bear in mind you'll need to change your pattern paper size. So here's my patterned paper. Okay, now I've already pre-cut pre-punched one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you both methods. So if you cut out your notch first, then you can stick your card on over the top and then realign where the notch is and cut that out. So that's what I'm going to do for that one, and then I'll show you how I did the notch on the other. So we're just going to pop that on there like so. Just going to let that, get rid of that glue that I've put in the middle there. Okay, so I can go in and do that, or I can stick on that one and then do my punch out. Now this is a little bit tougher, this cardstock, so hopefully this is going to work, because it's got to punch through the card and the patterned card as well. So let's just pop that on there, and again I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch all the way round. Now if you're going with this style without the notch, okay, I've done your little day 1, day 2, day 3 little receipt labels, and I've printed these out, colour filled the back, and you can stick that directly onto your thing. Now I've mounted that one with the craft paper at the back. You could, if you wanted to, just go in and just stick it on as is. Again, the choice is yours. Okay, and with the notch, you'll notice that the notch one, it will just come above that little notch bit there for it to sit on. But you could trim these down a little bit if you wanted to make them a bit smaller and not so big. Okay, so that should have dried now. So let's get my notch cutter, and we're just going to line that up and give that a punch, and then I'll just go in with my ink just to do those edges. Okay, so like I said, with this one, if I put that on there, it's just going to come over that top bit, and then that's going to sit on like that. Okay, I might have trimmed these down, I suppose, but I'm going to stick with the measurements that I've done for this, because everybody's notch thing is different, and actually if you've got a half circle, it might not come down quite as far, but I think that's fine. You can still get your finger in there. So I'm going to stick that one on. So let's just do this bit. Now I have put as well, if you only wanted to put one of these pockets on, I have also given you a printed sheet that does day 1 and 2 receipts. So you might just want one pocket added. And like I was saying, you know, it's really up to you what you want to do. Let's just tuck a little bit of glue in there. Okay, and then we're just going to add. So I'm decorating these pockets before I add them to our page. Okay, and that's just going to come up a little bit, so you still get to see some of the patterned paper in the background, like so. Okay, and then let's just stick this other one on. These I have printed these off on paper, so you can print these out on card, and then you might not need to back them on card to go on. Right, okay. Straighten that up a little bit. Okay, so let's punch the hole out of this one. So basically I just measured this to get my center point. grab my pencil. So this is 4.5, so that's 2.25, 2.25. That's my centre point, and now I'm just going to go in, line that up in the middle, and as I said, I'm now punching through 2 lots. So, oh my goodness, oh, that was a little bit tough. Perhaps I'll punch them out first and then stick the card on and do it that way. Right, okay, so we've just popped that round, and now I can add my other pocket label. So I'm just giving you the basics of what I'm doing. Okay, and we're just going to add that on there like so. And now I can cut the corners like we've done before. There we are. Okay, and because this is going on the outside, I've already got my paper done here, so I'm just going to stick that on. There we go. Let's just pop that on, and then we're going to hold that down. There we are. So that sits nicely on there, and it's non-directional, so that's all good. And now we've just got our pocket, so I'd put receipt pocket number 2 at the bottom with just a little bit of your paper showing. So let's get that one on. But if you're only doing one day, then it's up to you. You might want to put it in the middle, you might want to bring it down. It's really up to you. You might want to bring it down and maybe put a photo at the top, or swap it around and do it the other way. So I'm just going to add a bit of wiggle glue. So we're doing receipt 2 at the bottom. Just going to add this on. There we go. Just going to put a little bit of tape in there, just to, oops, I didn't quite cut enough of that. There we are. And what I'm going to do is, what I should have done is just cut these little, just give a little slant off of the top of these, just to sort of hide it from view a little bit, so that when you look at it you can't see them right at the top edge. So let's just take the tape off. There we go. And I'm just going to do the other side. Okay, so that's that one on. So now we've got space to tuck our receipts in. But of course, you might not want to use these pockets at all. You could, if you wanted, to tuck your receipts in there. But like I said, I'm just giving you lots of lovely options of things so you can be as creative as you wish with your own journal. Right, okay, so this one I need to allow a little bit of space between the 2 pockets. I'm probably coming down about 1/4 of an inch from that top where the paper is. Okay, and obviously I need to make sure that these are in alignment as well. There we go. Oh, and the other option is that you could put one on the outside and one on the inside. Again, gives you lots of options. So right, let's bring that down about 1/4 of an inch from the top. Make sure I've got that lined up with the pocket underneath. There we go. Now I can add some tape Right, that's now going to come up. I'm just going to take these off. Oops. Thought I had the tape then. There you go. Right, and now that's going to fold up and sit on there. Okay, so let's just go back to the beginning then for the minute. So side one, we've got our trip details. So I'm going to put a magnet on here to hold those in place. And we turn it over and we've got our pocket there where we've got our packing list. Then side three is our holiday budget, so I've tucked bits in there. I mean, you could, if you wanted to, even tuck in some notes or something like that, some, you know, currency if you wanted, but that keeps that in there. Okay, and the other thing is what you could do is maybe we could make a little envelope or something to go on the front if you wanted to tuck some other bits in there, like coins and stuff. And then you turn it over, and side four is our first day one, day two, with our receipts on the outside. And then this will be decorated, and then we can tuck in our journal sheets, or it might be the paper we might have written on our notepad and tucked those into there as well. So you've got a running record of what you are doing. So that's the first four sides. Now side five, okay, is day three and day four, but side six is my holiday weather chart. And for this one, what I could do is trim this off here and put that in slots just on that one, because we don't want too much on there, which I think I might very well do that. And then I can always cut this up and just put this on the top up there so I know what that is, and then I can take that out. So we'll just grab our patterned paper for that, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that one. So moving on now to side five, and I've done it as a little weather chart. Okay, and I've cut out my patterned paper. Let's just get all these bits off. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this as like a little tuck-in slot. So that's going to just sit on my paper here, and then this will tuck in to that slot, and then I can take it out, do the weather, and tuck it back in again. So again, I've got my curved pierced pocket slots from Cool Cats. Let's just open this up, and we're just going to pop the patterned paper on, and then we're going to cut this out. But again, if you don't have anything like this, then what you can do is either cut a diagonal slot going across, or you could maybe use something circular to give you that curved effect, and then you can cut a slot like so. So I'm just lining it up, but I'm not going right to the edge because I don't want it to cut the paper on that side. Now we're just going to pop that through our lovely die cutting machine. So just give that a round. Okay, let's just check to see whether that has cut through, which it has. So let's just get rid of this for the moment. There we go, move that out of the way. And now we can add this to our card. Okay, into our base page. Right, so I'm just going to peel that bit of tape off there. Right, I'm going to pop out the internal bit here, the little slot bit that we cut out, because I'll refill that on the inside. Right, so let's just pop that to one side so I don't lose that. Okay, so what I normally do is when I do anything like a tucked pocket, I just tuck in a bit of card just to go in there, so that again when I glue this I can see where I'm putting the glue, and so it doesn't stick to our page. I come along there, I come round that bit. like so. So this is a lovely little tuck spot. Okay, and now we're just going to line this up. So this is side 6, which is the weather, because side 5 is my next couple of days on there, which I'll go and add in. All right, so we've now again just stuck that down, giving that time to stick. And I'm just going to add a little bit of glue onto here. I'm going to pop this back into situ. There we go, just go round. And then we can let that dry. So that's just going to go in and cover the the craft card rather, in the background. Right, let's just make sure I've got that in centered. You see I'm slightly out, there we go. Right, okay, so now I can just give that a little lift and I can tuck that in, and that will keep that dry. I'll stop it from sticking to anything else. And then we've got that as our tuck spot for our weather chart, so that will go in like there. So side 5 I've got down as day 3 and 4, which is exactly the same as what I've done on the others. Okay, so I'm just going to click that. So I've already shown you how to do that, so I'm not going to repeat that. But yes, so that is side done with our little tuck spot. Okay, and then our next one, which is this one, I do believe. Yes, here we are, places to we visited log. You will notice that I've put in a whole selection of printable sheets, so you can mix and match and chop and change and add in or take away whatever you wish. Okay, but this one we're going to do the same as we did before, which is our our horizontal pocket, which is going to come at the bottom, and we're going to add a flap to this. Okay, because you can sort of fold this up and tuck it in along with your favorite highlights of your favorite places, which I might want to sort of shorten a little bit. Now obviously on the Word documents you can make these smaller if you wish, but also if you want to, you know, because you've got a pocket, you might be able to add in some postcards and other bits and pieces like that. So let's just pop them to one side. So with any pocket, as always, across the bottom to the score lines where they cross, and we're just going to give that a little wonky bit like so. This is going to come in down here, and again about 1/8 of an inch all the way round. And we're just going to take that off, add some glue, a little bit wiggle glue. Okay, here we are, and I'm just going to attach that on there. There we are, and now I'm just going to put a bit of tape along like we've done with all the other pockets. Okay, just going to add that in. There we go, and this is a horizontal pocket. So the flap, rather than being a vertical pocket, it's going to be like a horizontal flap when we put that on. Same principle as all the other flaps. Okay, and this is going to come in, and I'm just going to line it up so it covers that bottom of the pocket. So we've got that nice and centered. I'm going to add a little bit of wiggle glue. There we go. Right, okay, and let's just fold that up. Just going to line that up Hold on just one moment. There we are. I'm just going to tuck that down, and that is perfect. There we go, and that is that side done. So you know I've got a nice flap here. So places we go, you know, like I said, you can shrink these down even further, so you could have it on top or there. I'm just going to fold mine and tuck it in there for the time being, like so, with my places and highlight. And then if you want to add a magnet, then we can do that as well. So let's add a magnet just to hold the flap down while it's inside the album. So again, I'm just adding a little bit of glue. Pop our magnet on like so. Okay. And then we'll just grab another magnet. Oops, there we are. I'm just going to do an imprint with the glue on the other side. Let's take that out of the way. Tidy up. There we go. And that's going to come over, and that's going to hold down in place. Now I can see where my magnet needs to go. Okay, and then we're just going to add a bit of tape on there just to hold that in place. Okay, and that is our horizontal pocket and our flap coming down at the top. So lots of different ways that you can make up your pages. Okay, I will go ahead and finish making up mine, because I'm either going to be using the flap and the horizontal pocket, or just a horizontal pocket on its own. I might do another tuck-in spot like I've just shown you, so I can tuck some bits in like that. Obviously our day ones that we did, so I've already shown you how to do that, which is in amongst this lot. Here it is. So our day one and day two. Okay, and then just your bog standard horizontal pocket on its own. And you could actually, if you wanted, just put a vertical pocket on, but without the flap. Lots of choices. Feel free to sort of mix and match as much as you like. What I will say is, just a word of warning, is that when you're putting these together, just make sure that your bulky bits are on the outside of your hinge. Okay, so that will sit there, because you've got more space here to compensate for the thickness of that page, as opposed to what you're doing on the other side. So like here, for example, this is side one, which has got the flap and the horizontal pocket, so that's coming in on that side. We've just got a horizontal pocket there. I've just got that one tucked in like so. So you just try not to bulk it up too much. Okay, and then when you come to put the same on the next one, just make sure that these are on the outside as opposed to on the inside. Okay, and what I used to work out what I was going to do, if I just get my sheet of paper, just scribbled it down here. So I wrote down all my sides, which is 16, and then I worked out that that was all my pages. So we've got 2 sides to page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I worked out that that's therefore 1, 2, 3, 4 hinges. I went in and I put all the days on the back of the side 4, and then starting on side 5, and I put those in first. So this is what I mean by when you come to work out, like if you're doing it for 7 days, or if you're doing it for like 10 days or 11 days, or whatever your holiday time will be, you can sort of put that in. And then I've just added in all the extra bits that I wanted to put in, but I have given you loads more ideas and sheets and things of stuff that you can do. So I've got, for example, useful phrases, favourite views, holiday ratings chart, you know. So there's lots of other bits and pieces that you can add into your my holiday journal, but I just wanted to show you that's what I did, trying to work out where I was going to pop these all in. Okay, so what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and finish off my pages, and then I'll show you a little bit about the decoration, and then we'll be putting the pages into the album and finishing it off. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, so I'm back with all my pages done and decorated, and then I realised that I needed to create some labels for some of my pages, so I've also added on to your collection of print-offs sheet here that you can do your own actual labels. You'll see what I mean when I come to do that. And again, you can go in, change the font at the back, the colour rather, and the font, and whatever else you like. So here now, luckily in the paper pad that I was using, they had some really lovely little cards that I could cut out, so I've utilised some of those, but if I hadn't have had those, then I might have used some of my labels. Okay, so this one is travel plans, so trip details. I thought it sort of linked in quite nicely. Now what I've done is I've gone in, and my patterned card that I've put on this side, I've punched in some photo slots, and I've just tucked in a bit of paper here in case you wanted to sort of scribble anything on there, or if you wanted to, when you cut these out, you could cut them out slightly bigger so they slot in. It's really up to you, but that's what I did on that. And then on this side here, I've just used the label, and I've put holiday packing list, and then I've got everything in there. So that's what I did for side 1 and 2. Side 3, I've got the bucket list destination, so you could write things on there. I thought it was a bit appropriate to put it with a holiday budget, because it's whether you could afford it or not. But anyway, and again, I've done the same here, so you can slot in bits if you want to. And then I've got all my bits for the budget there. And then on this side, yes, as you saw earlier, I did the day 1 and 2 receipts. And again, I've got my journal. I don't need that bit in there actually. Got my journal sheets tucked in there like so. And there's plenty of space there for you to add extra details and what have you, but you can chop and change it as you like. So 3 and 4 would be the same. This one I just where we've done the tuck-in spot, I just cut out the weather chart one. I punched it with a 1.5 inch circle punch, and then a 1 3/4 inch punch on the craft card, and then that just sort of tucks in. And then another one of the cards, sightseeing destinations, so I thought places visited. And again, I mean, there's plenty of space there that if you want to add extra sheets, like, you know, writing sheets or what have you, you can decorate as much as you so wish. This one, favourite restaurants. This one, gift buying list, I tucked in, you know, day 11, 12. This one, best day ever, which I thought was quite nice. You could write something on there, and that's got like all the funny moments. You know, sometimes when you're on holiday and something happens, like you get arrested in Rome. I didn't really, but it's a long story, maybe for another day. Must revisit next time. So places you might want to go back to and have a look at, or you didn't get a chance to. And then we've got our days 13 and 14. And then on the label sheet, I have done one where you could put postcards. I've just put travel on there for now, but you've got plenty of space. There was an odd card there that I've tucked in that you could tuck in your postcards, or if you wanted to put your holiday chart in terms of, like, you know, your star chart, whatever you want, that's what you can do. Okay, so these are all the pages. Now I'll be honest, this is a little bit on the thick side, mainly because I've used craft card. Okay, if you are using black cardstock or white cardstock, you'll probably find that it won't come up quite as bulky as this. But when I sort of lay it all in and close it, we just get it in there. Okay, it's got most of everything else in there, probably apart from some receipts and stuff. So bearing that in mind, I decided that I'm probably going to put a ribbon enclosure on here because I need something that's going to pull it in. Okay, so it is just because the craft card is so much thicker than the usual black cardstock that I use, that has given it that sort of wodge, as it were. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to attach our pages, and then we're just going to put the ribbon on the outside and finish off and decorate. So let's make a start. Oh, I realised I hadn't got my bin. There we go. Let's bring my bin in. There we go. I had to empty it. Okay, so side 1, side 2. So side 2 is where we're going to put the red liner tape down, and you'll notice on the pattern that I've now started adding this in. If you're following my style of how I've created the album and the order I've done everything in, then that will help you to do that. But if not, and you want to chop and change things around, then don't put your red liner tape on until you know exactly where it's going to go, because it might have to stick on the left hand side or the right hand side of the hinge. So you want to make sure you get your tape in on the right place. So without further ado, we're going to take off this. Now, if you've never done this before, I suggest adding a little bit of squeaky wiggle glue to our album, and this bottom edge here is going to line right into that crease there where the hinge is, and these two sides are going to line up to the edges of the hinge. And what I do is I sort of just tuck it in. Let's just fold that back a bit. Okay, I'm going to tuck that in there, line that up, and make sure that that is flush against. And this is why we add the little bit of glue, just in case I need to move any of it. So I'm just going to give that a really good push down. Okay, and that is our first page in. Now, if you remember me saying right at the beginning to crease your hinge on your base pages backwards and forwards to help with that paper memory. Okay, and now this one, which is our holiday budget one, again, that's gone backwards and forwards, and this is side 3, and that's where the tape's going to go on, because that is now going to come in on the first hinge but on the right hand side. So let's just peel that off, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue like so, and I'm just going to turn this round, and I'm going to line that in situ and bring that up to the other side of the hinge. And now that's in, I can go in and give that a good squeeze on there. Okay, so they close not too badly actually, and the bulky bit that I've got here, which is where I've got my pockets on the outside, I've just sort of left those there. So that is the first hinge done, and I can just give that a little push, make sure that that is going right in. Now, if you've got any strips and you want to put anything down here in your gaps, then you're welcome to do so, like with your papers, your patterned papers, if you want to. Personally, I don't worry about that, but right, that is good to go. Okay, now we're going to come on to our next one, and it's always good to make sure you've got them in stackable order. Right, let's tuck you in there, little weather chart. Okay, so again, this is side 4, so this is now side 5, which has got the red liner tape on, and we're just going to rinse and repeat all the way through. with this. Here we go. Just going to tuck that in, line it up. There we go, and that's got a good fix on that now. Now I can go in, give that a good squeeze. Okay, and here we are, side 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to take the tape off. Right, okay, and again, just going to tuck that in on. So we're currently working on the second hinge, so I'm now coming into the right hand side of that. Just hold that for a minute. Oh, I managed to get a dollop of glue on there, that's not good. Okay, give that a good squeeze. Make sure that's going to sit in there nicely. Okay, so now that is going to fold over. All right, so now we're coming in to hinge number 3. So you can see this is gradually building up. Okay, so here we are. We've got red liner tape on this side. Another little bit of glue. Now the beauty of this spine system is that if at any time with wear and tear and all the rest of it, the glue does come apart and your page comes out, it's easy enough to go in and re-stick it. Okay, plus if you realize that you've stuck one in the wrong place and you need to take it out, then just with a little heat gun on that hinge will release it, and then you can put it in its right place. Okay, and therefore it doesn't affect everything you've done on that page. It will just be that one piece. So there we go. And then we're coming in on this one, so this is coming in on this side, and we're just building it and building it. There we go. Like so. There we are. Oh, I didn't put any glue on that one. Oh, it seems to have stuck already. I think I was getting a bit carried away. There we go. All right, and now the final 2 sides. Okay, so I'm going to come in on this side. So let's add a little bit of glue. There we go. Okay, now we're just going to tuck that in on there. Run my hands down the center, just holding that in position. And our final page. And it's as quick and as easy as that. I'll add some glue on as well, because this is the final page. Right, okay, here we go. Line it up, tuck it in, hold it in position, give it a good squeeze. And that, would you believe, is our album pages put in. So we're just going to let that set and dry for a minute, and then we're going to do the outside covers. Right, to the outside then. So I've gone with this paper. I like this particular card that was in the paper pack that I had, High Tides, Good Vibes. I thought it was quite a nice title for our journal. I've kept the paper all the same going all the way round because I just thought it was really lovely. So here are the ribbon strips. So these are about 18 inches in length. I've gone for a cream colour because I wanted something that was going to work quite well with the craft card, but sort of blend in a little bit with the papers and that on the inside, because some of them, they're not quite bright white, so an off white, and that was about the closest I had. So what I'm going to do is we'll just grab a ruler. Oh, a different ruler here today. Okay, so where are we? So it's 7 inches, so 3.5, and then 3.5. And I'm just going to flip that over and do exactly the same on the other side. 3.5 and 3.5. That just gives me my center point so I can work out where I'm going to do that. Now I put on some red liner tape already, which I'm going to stick just in there, but I don't take the red liner tape right to the end here, because when I put the paper on, we're going to have about 1/8 of an inch, and I don't want the ribbon to sort of pull back. So when I attach it, this bit is literally just going to sit on there, allowing for that 1/8 of an inch, and just keeping it in line roughly with my center point there. So let's just take off this. I find it easy just to stick ribbon with red liner tape. That's my personal choice. I just find it holds it a lot better. Right, okay, so just flip that back just so I can see where that edge is. Just going to come in, working down. That's about so far, and there we go. And that is the first ribbon bit on. Looks a little bit squiffy, but that'll be fine. Okay, and now I can turn that over and do the same on the other side. So I'm just going to take the ribbon tape off this red liner tape. That's it. Oh, so this is about 1 inch wide, this ribbon. Okay, so I can just see that. That's just coming down. Try and get relatively straight, and actually that's not a bad, it's not a bad match at all. Thank goodness for that, she says. Okay, so now to the cardstock. So as I say, this is all going the same all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this one on the front first, so I can make sure I've got it lined up nicely. There we go. There we are. And just going to line that up either side. Make sure that that is sitting on there. That's good. Let's have a look at that. It's a little. That's it. Just need to come down a smidgen. It looked a little wonky. Right. Okay. Now we're going to add plenty of glue. Now you could stick this down with red liner tape on the front if you wanted. Because I'm using bookbinding glue, I think that's going to be ample. Okay, and just going to line that on there, and I'm just making sure that I'm allowing that rough 1/8 of an inch gap all the way round. the album. Okay, and then the spine I will line up, and that will come in on here. Now you will notice I've got a bit of cracking on the spine here. I think I was a bit overzealous with my foam folding on the inside, but I just think it adds more character to it, especially if it's a journal. It's going to travel, it's going to get battered. So, but I did put some glue in and to sort of stop it from cracking any further. Okay. Right. So we stick that on there, and now I'm going to turn that over and stick the last one on. And thankfully this is not directional paper, so I haven't got to worry about that. Okay, and we'll just bring that in. But again, I'm just making sure I'm lining it up so it's got 1/8 of an inch going all the way around, and it lines up with the edges coming round from the spine as well. But you could, if you wanted to, you could have wrapped the whole album in something like an old map if you wanted, or other patterned paper, rather than sort of, you know, have it like I've done it. So you've got lots of choices. And there we are. So I'm just going to tie this off, see how much ribbon we've got. So you can see now I've got that ribbon on there. That really pulls that in as well. I think my ribbon's a little bit long, so I'll cut that back a little bit. I'm probably going to take off about maybe 3 or 4 inches. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I might take off 4 inches, so that would mean it will be the strips will be about 14 inches in length, but don't worry, I'll add that all to the pattern. But there we go. So that is the end of our Let's Go Explorer set, because we've just bringing in the other one is my beach is my happy place. So we've got the Explorer's Go-To wallet, and then you've got your journal. Okay, and one thing I did realise was is that the celebration album and keepsake box, that is another one of my sets that I made recently, so you can find that on YouTube. So here is the celebration box. If I take that out, the little Explorer's Go-To wallet sits in there, but also you can take out your bottom album here, and this might be a little tight squeeze, but it will go in. Look at that, it will go in. So you could make yourself a keepsake box, okay, and then you've got all your journal stuff in there as well. So actually across the two you can mix and match if you wanted. So what I would say is that if you are intending to use it with this, then you're going to need to maybe add yourself a bit of ribbon in on your spine, which is what I did on the album for here, just to help make it easier to get the album in and out, although there is still some room there, so if you forget, don't panic. Okay, but look, you see there is still room for you to get your fingers in there and pull it out, but it just makes it easier. Okay, so there we are. That is our little Let's Go Explore collection set. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon on our next project. Take care, keep crafting, bye.